Yeah, you know me, SDMT. Huge news right here, man. This is crazy, man. Dana White announces that the fight to make is Stylebender versus John Jones, man. Dana White is all in on the black on black violence. This is huge right here, man. This fight has been bubbling. John Jones, every time Stylebender gets a win, John Jones comes tweeting and trying to get that attention and cause that drama. We saw Stylebender come out and just pick apart, Paulo Costa, destroy his legs, set him up, came with the punches, knocked him down, and finished him after all that crap that Paulo Costa talked. He really did not bring the fight, and we just saw him just get picked apart. And we saw that it's just on a whole nother level. You know what I mean? He's on a whole nother level, probably than anybody in that middleweight division, to be honest. He says he wants to fight Jared Cannonier, but that fight, I don't know how close that fight would actually be. So when we look at that division, he wants to defend that belt and, be kind of like Anderson Silva. But the way that division is, I was saying he should do that, but now it's kind of like that John Jones fight. Maybe if Izzy wins another fight, maybe the Cannoneer or whoever, he's just go up and take that John Jones fight. You know what I mean? Because, he's the hottest, fighter right now, you know what I mean, in the UFC. And, what he did to Paulo Costa in front of all these eyes, and there's so many doubters and so many haters, and he proved them all wrong, and he's been on internet going crazy, trolling, bringing even more attention after his victory, you know what I'm saying? So, John Jones, he's coming off of two performances where there were split decisions, not his best performances. Dominic Reyes believes he won that fight. He ended up getting knocked out by JON. Jan has that power, and I think Dominic Reyes kind of felt like, he deserved that belt. You know what I mean? So we look at John Jones, two close, wins where, it's arguable that he lost. So, but at the end of the day, he ended up keeping his belt, and I believe John Jones finished those fights strong, and he put the judges in a tough position to take that belt from him. So John Jones is very smart the way he fights, especially knows how they're judged. He was able to keep his belt. Now, we got to look at John Jones, man. He was trying to, move up, and he was trying to negotiate with Dana White, and that really didn't work out for him. So he's talking about he's working out to move up to heavyweight. But when we look at John Jones, man, he's in a very tough position because he doesn't have a big money fight. We kind of thought that DC was going to try to maybe fight him one more time before he retired, but DC wasn't interested. So he left John Jones all alone with no big money fights. I think John Jones in his last two performances, he just wasn't mentally engaged enough, so he kind of let those fights be closer than they should, because in the biggest, brightest fights, John Jones performs at his best. When it's guys that he doesn't really think that they're that good, he kind of lets them stick around. So we got to look at John Jones. He tried to move up and fight Francis. Dana White didn't want to pay him that money, so he kind of retired. Now he's searching for a big money fight, and he sees this hot young fighter and Stylebender getting all the attention that he feels that he deserves, and he wants to try to take that away from Stylebender because John Jones is thirsty for a money fight. There's nobody in that division that's a money fight, so he's trying to move up, or he's trying to convince Stylebender into moving up and, getting entrapped. So when we look at Stylebender, he's the hottest athlete in MMA right now. People want to say, I know the McNutt huggers, oh, it's Conor. Well, Conor is kind of retired at the moment, all right? So until he's actually signed up for a fight, Stylebender is the active, most, famous fighter right now. He's the most talked about athlete right now, and he's on fire. So he has a lot of the power right now. And he's kind of the A-side right now. We look at John Jones, yeah, he's the GOAT, but his last two performances, they weren't that special. We look at Stylebender, what he did to Paulo Costa. People want to see that. People want to see a guy that comes out there and strikes and picks guys apart. John Jones, he just hasn't been, as exciting as he used to be in his younger days. You know what I mean? Outside of that Gus fight, where he finished Gus, he's been, in these close battles, Israel Adesanya, he has so much ability. He has over 100 fights. He comes from a kickboxing background, and he's a very solid striker. And we look at John Jones, he has a lot of his problems with strikers, and especially tall, long guys that he can't, use his reach against. So I think Izzy would be a great matchup for John Jones. Now, John Jones, if he chose to take it to the ground, he'd have a huge advantage, but John Jones hasn't been using his wrestling as much as he used to. He's fell in love with his striking like a lot of wrestlers do. They try to, fall in love with their striking after they start knocking guys out or finishing guys with their striking. They forget about the wrestling. So he does have that wrestling advantage, but if he chose to stand with Izzy, I'm sorry. I think Izzy would pick him apart because we look at Dominic Reyes was able to stand with John Jones. You know what I mean? A lot of guys have been able to stand with John Jones and not be finished. So John Jones, his major ability was always his wrestling. And he could take guys down and elbow them and finish them. Beat ground and pound them and maybe get a choke or just get a stop with those vicious elbows. So we got to look at it. I think Stylebender is a great, competition, and we all know John Jones is going to lose sooner or later. You know what I mean? People forget that when Stylebender Israel Adesanya, I said it wrong, came into the UFC, people called him Baby John Jones. They called him Little John Jones. People forget about that. And, it was something that he kind of distanced himself from, and then also people saw that he fought nothing like John Jones. He's more of a striker than a wrestler, so he was able to, create his own identity and move out from that shadow, and now I think this fight will be huge. John Jones needs his big money fight. He needs to try to cement his legacy more, but I also think that he wants a big money fight, and I think that's at this point of his career, he's only going to get up and bring his best performances for the big money fights. Israel Adesanya, no matter who he fights right now, it's going to be big money. John Jones is going to get, he's going to get money, but John Jones wants that Conor megastar money. You can tell, trying to go up and fight Francis and, not being happy with Dana White, not, buckling his demands, shows that John Jones is looking and thirsty for a big money fight. Israel just may be that fight to give him that big bag that he's been looking for, man. I'm really excited about this news. I think this fight should happen in maybe 2021. It shouldn't happen too soon. And I think that it would be huge, and MMA really needs it right now. I think it would be a great fight. Now, let me know what you guys think below. Drop your thoughts below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I'm out. SDMT!